In this video, we'll discuss the new feature pack that allows you to create user-defined pop-up windows on your grid. So the grid component has always allowed you to create pop-up windows, but they've been special purpose pop-up windows. They've either been pop-up windows that display, as you can see here, a grid component, or a pop-up window that displays a report or an A5W page. But you've not had the ability to put any content that you want in the pop-up windows. So you can see here I've got 4 different buttons, all of which were created using this new feature pack. So I'm going to demonstrate them and then show how they were built. So this button here opens up a pop-up window, and you can see here this pop-up window was actually created by making an Ajax callback to the server, and the server computed some arbitrary HTML and then sent that back to the client. This pop-up window was generated by calling a JavaScript function that was defined in the grid, and the JavaScript function generated some HTML, and the HTML was shown over here. This pop-up window displays contents that was actually defined in the actual action JavaScript itself, and this pop-up window over here is displaying the contents of a hidden div on the grid. So each of these buttons here is slightly different and serves a different purpose in your design. So let's go back now and take a look at how these buttons were created. So first of all, I should point out that these buttons were created using the action buttons feature pack, but you could just as easily have used just simple buttons in the grid. So you don't have to have the action button feature pack to use this. So let's go back now and look at the definition of those 4 buttons. So you can see here that the first button is a pop-up Ajax window. Well, they're actually all pop-up Ajax windows, and you can see if in the list of available actions now there's a new action called open a pop-up Ajax window. And if I go into edit mode here on this window, you can see that the window type has been set to a modal pop-up window. It could be a modeless pop-up or a drop-down window. And then the window content is set by an Ajax callback, and you can see here are the 4 different ways in which the window could be populated: an Ajax callback, a local JavaScript function, local, and then contents of a div. And we'll get to each one of those, but right now we're talking about the Ajax callback. So you can see now that we specified that the name of the Xbasic function that will be called is generate window. And to get the prototype for that function, we can just click the button over there, and that generates the prototype for us. And then if we basically then copy the prototype to the clipboard and then open up Xbasic function declarations, this is where we can actually define the function. So if you look at the prototype here, you'll see that it tells you that when the Xbasic function is called, the E object is passed into it, and this E object basically contains a property called window div. That is the ID of a div in the window that you need to populate with your Ajax callback. So the instructions here tell you that you just simply set the inner HTML of that div to whatever you want the window to display. So let's go look now at what this callback function does in this particular case. So let's open up the function declaration and look at our function over here. So I'm going to pause now and pick it up in the next video.